The 1998 Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach was the third round of the 1998 Kart FedEx Champ Car World Series season. It was held on April 5th at the iconic Long Beach Street Circuit. This was the 24th running of the Long Beach Grand Prix and the 15th for the IndyCar series. The layout of this temporary street circuit has changed several times over the years, and the last running of this just over 1.5 mile layout that was used between 1992 and 1998. The track was changed in 1999 due to construction where the Turn 1 chicane was, and in the year 2000, it switched to its current configuration. Brian Herta would be on pole, and he would lead his teammate and car owner Bobby Rahal in his final Long Beach Grand Prix to the green flag.
The Toyota Supra pace car has pulled off. Herta and Rahal across the front row. Jim Swinton, the flagman, waves the green, and we are underway at Long Beach, up to top speed here on Shoreline Drive. Walter Salas looking around the outside of Bobby Rahal. Oh, contact there. I think Michael Andretti nosed into the back of Adrian Fernandez. Oh, and Alonso Jr. is into the tire wall. Behind him is Helio Castro Neves in the Alumex car for Tony Bettenhausen. And we immediately get flags from the flag stand. It is a full course yellow here on lap 1 at Long Beach.
Well, it did not take long for the full course caution to come out as Alonso Jr. gets tagged and put into the tire barrier. Rookie Helio Castro Neves has nowhere to go and makes very, very light contact with the back of his car. Helio was able to continue, but Alonso Jr. was done.
We're going around wide. Look out, Alonso Jr. right there. He's got nowhere to go. Makes contact right there with this car. I couldn't tell who it was. I think it was Scott Pruitt. Made a little contact, just got him off the line, caught the tire wall. Nothing anybody could do. And look how close that yellow car right there just came. He almost made contact himself.
All the leaders would stay out here, obviously, as we never got a single lap of green flag racing, and Brian Herta would lead the field back to green.
And then the famed hairpin. And once again, this crowd comes to its feet throughout the grandstands as Brian Herta leads them off the corner and gets the green flag. He gets a great jump as well and rockets away from Bobby Rahal on Shoreline.
Fanning out there trying to make a pass down the inside. We've got two great places to pass around here.
Quick look from Gilles de Ferran's car. He runs right behind Adrian Fernandez in the orange and green machine. Just behind de Ferran is Michael Andretti.
A much cleaner restart here as the field was much more spread out going into turn number 1 this time, so everyone was able to get through without any incidents, and we would get some green flag racing. Only a lap after the restart though, these guys would get pretty racy as Gilles de Ferran would make this move on Adrian Fernandez, and only a couple corners later, Michael Andretti would make this ballsy move going to the inside of Fernandez, going into the iconic hairpin, completing the pass and taking the position in an area that is pretty risky and you don't normally see guys make moves at. On lap 8, Patrick Carpentier would go straight into the turn 1 runoff area and his day would come to an end. At the conclusion of a commercial break, Gilles de Ferran would be the next one to find trouble as he had to pit due to a flat tire. This would drop him to the tail end of the field, but he would remain on the lead lap. And on lap 14, Michael Andretti would make a daring move in the hairpin once again, taking third place away from Galter Salas. The very next lap though, the second yellow flag of the race would come out as Michel Jourdain buried his car into the tire barrier, bringing an end to his day. Unfortunately, there was no replay of this incident, and none of the leaders would come down pit road either, so Brian Herta would lead the field back to the green flag.
Back up to speed they come as we go green, and you're watching Brian Herta disappear in the distance from the nose of Bobby Rahal's car. And Rahal has Michael Andretti all over the back of him down in 1. It's amazing what having a good race car under you will do for a driver's confidence. Michael Andretti is just beaming with confidence this weekend. his second win here on the streets of Long Beach. His dad, Mario, has 3.
Just a lap after the restart, the third full course caution would come out as Christian Fittipaldi and Paul Tracy found themselves in the tire barriers just before the hairpin, with Paul Tracy catching some air on this one. He's lucky he didn't flip upside down.
And once again, we'll get yellow flags from the flag stand as the kart safety team goes to work. Here's another look.
Oh, look at this. Whoa. Big air. That was the same location that Christian Fittipaldi was involved with Greg Moore a while back. They touched that same area. Comes through turn 6 at the end of the straightaway.
Now here's Andre Ribeiro in the Penske pits for some front wing adjustments. A new nose on that car. In fact,
oh, that was a close call getting out of here as Ribeiro pulled out. Herter was coming in for the stop. They came within inches of each other, Bob.
And Bobby Rahal comes in as well, as the Team Rahal teammates are both in the pits at the same time. It's going to be a... Okay, Rahal moves first. There's Hiro Matsushita, the RCR Wells team. And the pits are busy. Look at them all. There's Mauricio Gugelmin in the Pac West car. There's Rahal, still on the pit lane speed limiter.
And pit road was chaotic as all the leaders in the majority of the field would come down pit road for the first service of the race, but the running order would be shaken up drastically as JJ Leto would lead Helio Castroneves for this restart, putting the guys who were the front runners of this race so far further back in the field for the restart.
Green flag. Someone wiggling there. JJ Leto is the race leader. That's Helio Castroneves. He's got Andre Ribeiro right alongside. Ribeiro, however, is a lap down. So that is not for position between the Alumax car and the Marlboro car. There's Arne Meyer in that bright yellow Lola, the only one in the field. He is the third place machine. Then Max Pappas in the Toyota-powered RCR Wells car. This is a home race for them as well. Then PJ Jones for Dan Gurney in the 5th spot.
This would be another well-behaved and clean restart, but everything would change once they got down to the hairpin, as some of the early contenders in this race found themselves in trouble. Unfortunately, Bobby Rahal would stall his car in the hairpin, only making very minor contact on the nose of his car, but he had to slow down so much to avoid making contact with Michael Andretti, who got into PJ Jones and caught some air in the middle of the hairpin that it ended up stalling his car. He was visibly frustrated here as the safety crew was taking forever to make it to his car to get him back refired so he can rejoin the race. He would end up losing a lap here because of this. And unfortunately, this would also bring out the 4th full course caution of the day, once again not making it even one lap after the restart.
Michael Andretti tries that move around the outside, which he's done before. Now the hairpin's right over in here. Somebody turns in, and Michael gets right up over the tire. Looks like one of Dan Gurney's cars. Gets right up over the tire, launches, and Bobby obviously hits the brake.
From above, I think that's PJ Jones turning ahead of Michael Andretti. Andretti gets in the air, Rahal gets on the brakes, and stalls the engine.
And Bobby was very lucky he didn't get hit from the back. And see, that's what happened. You could hear him, he stalled it. He didn't get the clutch in fast enough to hit the brakes and stalled the car.
Now back to the incident we just saw. Watch and listen.
This is right where Christian and them touched.
And the amazing thing is, Michael just grabs the gear and drives away.
During this yellow flag, race leader JJ Leto would have to bring his car down pit road as he suffered some mechanical issues. He would continue on in the race, but this would knock him out of contention. This would hand the lead over to rookie Helio Castroneves, who recovered quite nicely from that turn 1 lap 1 incident with Al Unser Jr.
Castroneves is the leader. Gilles de Ferran shown in 2nd place. There's de Ferran in the blue and white Valvoline car. Then Brian Hurd, our pole sitter. Michael Andretti after his brief flight. Dario Franchitti, Adrian Fernandez, Scott Pruitt, Tony Kanaan, Greg Moore, and Alex Zanardi. Back to action. De Ferran looking to move up.
Let's not forget de Ferran's had already stopped for that punctured tire. So he's doing very well to be back up there battling in 2nd position.
Keep in mind, we're not even at the 30 lap mark in this race. Less than a third of the way through, and we've already seen incredible action that have led to 4 yellow flags.
The top two drivers in this race recovering quite nicely from earlier incidents, as I mentioned before, that lap 1 incident with Helio Castroneves and Gilles de Ferran having to come down pit road to change a punctured tire. But once again, unfortunately, chaos would erupt once we got to the hairpin after this restart, this time involving a number of drivers.
And more action in the hairpin once again. Oh, fully blocked now. Self-Parker valet, sir. Now, we saw this several times in this morning's practice.
Well, what happens here is if one of them tries to go around the outside, they don't have enough turning ratio to get out there, and they've got to stop.
Galter Salas and Hiro Matsushita made some contact in the hairpin, resulting in Galter Salas not being able to make the turn, which created an absolute enormous traffic jam behind that ended up affecting PJ Jones, Alex Zanardi, Max Papis, Andre Ribeiro, Alex Barron, as well as some others, and Bobby Rahal, who was well behind this at the back of the pack, came to the hairpin once again to a blocked track and stalled his car once again in the hairpin. Surprisingly, a lot of drivers were able to keep their engines running here, with only a few drivers stalling, including Alex Zanardi, who would probably get the worst of this because he would end up losing a lap here. But once the roadblock was cleared and the field was sorted out, Helio Castroneves would maintain the lead over Gilles de Ferran, and they would lead the field back to the green flag.
Back onto Shoreline Drive they come. Once again, the crowd comes to its feet. The green flag waves, and we are back underway. This is the area where the course will change in the future. Drivers will make a left turn right where those brake marks start. Go around the new aquarium here in Long Beach. Adrian Fernandez leading his teammate Scott Pruitt in 6th and 7th. Interesting set of corners coming up right here. Constant acceleration between these concrete walls made up of blocks of concrete, 8,000 pounds heavy each.
The field would finally make it through the hairpin in one piece after the restart, and we would see a couple of laps of green flag racing. But an incident going into turn number 1 at one of the fastest parts of the racetrack saw Andre Ribeiro and Max Papis making contact, with both drivers going for a spin. Ribeiro would continue on, and Papis's car would go into the runoff area. The green flag would stay out for a little bit, as it was initially thought that Papis may be able to continue on in the race here once the officials got him refired, as his car was not that heavily damaged, but turns out that would not be the case, and he would end up retiring from the race here, leaving the officials no choice but to bring out the 6th full course caution of the race, as we've now officially hit a new full course caution record for Long Beach, and we are not even halfway through this race yet. And during this caution, Helio Castroneves, who was off sync with the rest of the leaders, would come down pit road here for fuel and 4 tires, relinquishing the lead to Gilles de Ferran, as unfortunately for Helio here, not a lot of other drivers came down pit road with him.
There is Gilles de Ferran driving for Derek Walker in the Valvoline Cummins car. Onto the front straight, he has an opportunity to make up time. Briefly there, he's got Alex Zanardi just behind him. Scott Pruitt going around his teammate Adrian Fernandez. That is for position. Pruitt now up to 5th. Fernandez back to 6th.
And both of the Patrick drivers have had their share of bumps. We were just checking with the team, Bob. Pruitt involved in the incident early with Alonso Jr. Fernandez in 2 other altercations. Both cars responding, however, with no damage. They will make a change on the final stop for Pruitt with air pressure. They'll go back to their original setting after an earlier adjustment.
Whoa, Arndt Meyer in the bright yellow Lola, not racing for position. Had a thought about going down the inside of Fernandez, but Fernandez was having none of it.
Once again, another clean restart, no issues in the hairpin, and we would get some green flag laps in here as we approach the halfway mark. 2 laps after the restart, Alex Zanardi would make this move on Michael Andretti going into turn number 1 at the end of Shoreline Drive. Although this is not for position, this would be a very important move for Zanardi as he is trying to get his lap back and now only has 2 cars in front of him to pass. And it's pretty impressive that Michael Andretti is still running in 3rd place despite everything that has happened to him so far in this race. But on lap 50, the drama for Michael would keep piling up as his left front tire looked to be coming apart with a piece of rubber flapping around on the inside wall of the tire. But this was not slowing Michael down at all as he was actually catching Brian Herta at this point, who was in 2nd place. Michael's team was ready for him to come down pit road at any time if he needed to. He decided to tough it out and try to nurse that car until they had to make a scheduled pit stop. But on lap 55, Michael's luck would run out, and on Shoreline Drive, that tire would blow and Michael would go hard into the outside wall, bringing out the 7th caution of the race.
Oh, I just hit the wall. Oh. Well, they gambled, and obviously that tire just was worse than they thought, and it just gave up. Now he's got the right-hander. He's going around there, and the tire just starts to come apart. You could see it flapping around, just came apart. Nothing he could do.
This would bring the leader Gilles de Ferran and others down pit road for 4 tires and fuel here, with Gilles de Ferran maintaining his lead after the pit stops and Helio Castroneves back up to 2nd. Also, Alex Zanardi would get back on the lead lap here, and he would restart in the 12th position.
Well, Michael Andretti, the big question, you could see that the tire had problems, but you obviously thought it was going to hold up.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't have, but they said to stay out. They were watching the air pressures on the telemetry, and but then it just let go. It had no warning, but I saw pieces of it starting to come apart.
Now, ultimately, whose decision is it? I mean, obviously, they told you to stay out, but did you think you should come in and get a new tire?
I guess it's ultimately my butt on the line, so you know, I decided to take the risk because I knew if I had to pit that our chances of winning were done. So I took the chance, and it didn't pay off.
Thank you, Michael.
3rd strong performance for Michael Andretti, but he gets only the 1 victory in the season opener at Homestead out of it. We are back under green. Gilles de Ferran, the race leader. Helio Castroneves runs in 2nd. Dario Franchitti 3rd. Brian Herta in 4th. And then Scott Pruitt. That's the battle you're watching right there.
Well, the first half of this race had a lot of yellow flags, but we're on lap 63 now, and I could proudly say from this point on, it is green all the way to the end. But trust me, that does not mean that the drama is over, because this one's about to get good. As the race was entering its closing stages, and teams were thinking about making a pit stop so they have enough fuel to make it to the end, on lap 81, Helio Castroneves makes this awesome move that caught Gilles de Ferran off guard going into turn number 1, and he was able to take over the lead of the race. On top of that, he was able to catch a nice break and put some distance between him and Gilles de Ferran, as Jimmy Vasser, who just came out of the pits, was still slow on cold tires, and he ended up holding up de Ferran slightly by making de Ferran lift to avoid contact. Helio would only end up holding the lead for 2 laps though, as he would have to bring his car down pit road for fuel and tires so he can make it to the end of the race, giving the lead back to Gilles de Ferran. And Helio would end up coming out of the pits still in a great position to try to win this race in 6th place, but unfortunately he would make a mistake and put his car into the tire barriers. Fortunately for him, he was able to continue on as the safety crew was able to push him out and get him back going in the race, despite how risky it was for the safety crew to get him back out there with cars oncoming and just a local yellow. But I gotta give credit to the officials for not throwing a full course caution here and letting the race play out.
Pulls out to pass the car. Oh, he just pulled out to pass the car, ducked back in, and locked him up.
But now things are about to get even more wild as race leader Gilles de Ferran, who's basically dominated the majority of this race, would have a transmission failure and he would lose the lead to Brian Herta. Unfortunately for de Ferran though, this would be catastrophic and this would put an end to his race. Such a promising day down the drain in the closing stages. But the very next lap, Brian Herta would have to come down pit road for a splash of fuel so he can can make it to the end of the race, as fuel was a concern for the majority of the front runners, and it was going to become very interesting to see who can make it. This would give the lead to Dario Franchitti, who we haven't really talked much of all race up until this point. He would be in command for 2 laps before he too would have to come down pit road to get some fuel so he can make it to the end of the race. This would give the lead to Adrian Fernandez, who would just end up pitting on the next lap as he too had to come in to get fuel to make sure he made it all the way to the checkered flag. With Fernandez going down pit road, this would give the lead to another driver we haven't really talked much about, and that is Greg Moore, as he would lead for 2 laps before he would also have to come down pit road for fuel. And during his pit stop, it'd be a very, very scary moment. As he exited his pit stall, he clipped his fueler, who thankfully did not receive any serious injuries here, but this would cost Greg Moore, as he would get a penalty for this infraction of striking his pit member. With 7 laps remaining, this would give the lead back to Brian Herta, with only Dario Franchitti in his rearview mirror. As these last laps were going to go down pretty quick, it seemed like it was a 2-horse race for the win. But with 6 laps to go, you'll notice a red car closing in at a rapid rate behind these two, and that is Alex Zanardi, who was at 1.1 lap down during this race and is now in 3rd spot and the fastest car on the racetrack. Zanardi was able to put himself in this position as shortly after the final yellow, when he got back on the lead lap in the race, he made a pit stop that went unnoticed by the broadcast, and he was able to come out in front of the leaders and remain on the lead lap. From that point on, he had a lot of clear racetrack in front of him, so he can lay down some blistering fast lap times, and that's exactly what he did. He has fresher tires than these guys, and with Long Beach's super long pit road, he was able to gain an enormous amount of time and pass a ton of cars while they were on pit road when these guys had to come in for a splash of fuel. He was able to make quick work here of Dario Franchitti, and he sets his sights on Brian Herta, in which these two have a history, and Alex Zanardi is probably the last person that Brian Herta wants to see in his rearview mirror in the closing stages of a race.
2 to go this time by, and everyone in this crowd of 100,000 plus is on their feet. Here goes Zanardi for the lead, and he has it. Here comes Franchitti for second, as the Target Chip Ganassi Racing team goes crazy. The first time they have been in the lead since the exchange of pit stops earlier in the race. Alex Zanardi has come seemingly from nowhere to work his magic again, and he is in the lead and pulling away.
And Brian Herta has to be crushed. And Franchitti took advantage of it. He had to be right there up close and took advantage of it all.
A quick look in the mirrors for Zanardi, but he has a huge interval as the white flag waves. The victory would be worth $5,000 in donations to the St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee. Last year they earned about $100,000. Did Chip Ganassi Racing and Target. There is Franchitti, who has taken over 2nd place. But now he has worked his way patiently through this field, through all the chaos, all the drama. Once more through the hairpin with this crowd screaming as one. He has done it again. The checkered flag waves, and Alex Zanardi back-to-back wins in Long Beach.
Another incredible performance by Alex Zanardi, as he absolutely embarrasses Brian Herta again with a really well thought out and planned surprise move going into turn number 3 that I'm convinced Brian Herta was not expecting. And this one definitely has to be up there with one of Alex Zanardi's most impressive performances, to come back from a lap down, having your team have to call interesting strategy because of the problems that persisted. On top of that, he was dealing with a bent suspension position and no radio communication between him and his team, and making it all not matter as he fights his way through the field to steal a victory away from Bryan Herta once again. And this is definitely my all-time favorite Long Beach race. Does this one rank up there with you guys? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you're into IndyCar history, make sure to subscribe to my channel as we revisit these classic races every now and then. And if you want to support the channel in a larger way, you can become a primary sponsor by joining and becoming a member, and that will give you early access to all my videos. That's all for now. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you guys in my next one. Take care, everybody.